that are insistent on coming in and posting pornography, I've set it up so that by default you're going to be muted, and so again it might take me a while to unmute you. So don't be discouraged if you can't speak or say anything when you originally come in. So without further ado, I just want to ask the people here what's your opinion on abortion? Any people that are pro-life or pro-choice?
I'm pretty woefully uninformed on the subject, but I've been looking into it recently because I didn't really have an opinion. But the first sort of persuasive opinion towards one side or the other I heard was from Matt Dillahunty in the pro-abortion, and he basically likened it to saying like, you can't really make somebody donate an organ in the same way that you can't really force somebody's body to be pressed into whatever service you wish. So to me, I was like, all right, that was persuasive. I get it. I mean, it's not something I relish the idea of, but I get the argument, and it's something I don't disagree with and can't find fault in.
Myself, I would like to find the point at which consciousness starts, and then say before that is okay.
Being the only female here, I'm going to have to say, obviously, choice and stay the fuck out of my uterus, please. Like, seriously, laws, my uterus, get the fuck out.
Okay. Nadia's joined. I'm just going to unmute her. Sorry about this. It's just to stop the people from porn bombing. Shit. Okay. So anyway, thanks for coming along, because it should deflect the sort of typical. We need a female here to talk about these issues, so it's definitely good to have that. Nadia,
I was like, I should be in this one.
Nadia, what's your view on this? We're talking about abortion. Are you pro-life, pro-choice, somewhere in the middle?
I am pro-abortion.
Okay, people are generally okay with sort of. So to what extent are people okay with this then? Would you be okay with sort of very late term abortions? Do you think you should be able to have an abortion at any stage in the procedure, or do you think there should be a sort of limit, as Cat's Eye described, in terms of when the baby reaches some sort of consciousness?
Honestly, I think it would be up to the woman who has the unwanted pregnancy.
Okay.
Period.
So, to play devil's advocate here, since I'm just trying to do two things at once. To play devil's advocate here, what about the people that would argue that there's some sort of personal responsibility that means that if you get pregnant, you should be the sort of personal responsibility should come before that, and abortions are sort of something that should only be used when it's accidental or unintentional pregnancies, rather than to stop people from deliberately getting pregnant and then.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does that. Honestly, like, I really sincerely doubt anyone tries to get pregnant just so they can go have an abortion.
Yeah, I think so. It's my fault. I'm very bad at doing two things at once and playing devil's advocate. Can someone help me out here? Someone who's better at playing devil's advocate.
Well, say there's a worker shortage, or a global incident where a majority of the female population went infertile.
No, even in that case, it should be up to the person with the fetus inside them. Like, even if human race at stake, it's still, you're talking about one person's life, their agency, and their control over their own body. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to, Dillahunty's very good argument, if everyone in the world's kidneys were failing except this one person, you wouldn't force this one person to donate a kidney. Like,
Well, if a fetus gained life at it gained consciousness at sort of the end of the fourth trimester, and but it was still in the womb. I mean, do you think that she should have a right to abort it, but maybe they could keep it in a test tube incubator for a while?
First, there are only 3 trimesters, thus the tri.
Oh. My bad.
Kind of like a tricycle, 3 wheels, And secondly, it's if the fetus can survive on its own, that's a point at which I certainly would not, except in the case that one, continuing to carry or delivering would result in my death. Of course, you have to deliver at that stage, that late. Basically, if the fetus has insanely good odds of surviving, because it's pretty much full term, at that point you have to deliver in order to abort as well. So that's the only way I would be willing to abort at that point, I personally. And this is my uterus situation, not what I think for everyone. The only instance in which I would abort at a very late stage wherein the infant could survive feasibly is if the infant, or if the fetus rather at that stage, had some horrible degenerative disease that would result in them living an incredibly short, painful life. And there are tests for that. You can find out.
But if we knew the child had consciousness, and we knew at which point consciousness started, don't you think that would kind of, that ending a fetus's sort of existence, ending a mind's existence, don't you see that there could be some more questions about, did that fetus that had consciousness, did that fetus have a right to exist?
No, I don't think it. I really don't think consciousness plays into it, because people who are in need of kidneys are conscious, and we don't force other people to donate to them, even when it will save their life. And thus, I don't think at what point does consciousness begin really factors into it. Honestly, I think the only thing that should factor into outside of extenuating circumstances, perhaps, is ability to survive outside the womb. And not just survive, but thrive.
I mean, there's an argument then that newborn babies cannot survive on their own. In a sense, a newborn baby is still sort of parasitic on the mother in the sense that without the parent or at least a surrogate carer, the child will not be able to survive on their own.
Well, certainly not. It's an infant human, and infant humans require at least one, older human to care for them, or they starve to death, because we're not like horses. We don't get up and walk and run immediately. But no, at that point, it's able to survive and thrive outside. What I'm talking about is the ability to breathe and, eat when a breast or a bottle is given.
So how does Dillahunty's argument? Because I'm just thinking out loud, because I don't fully understand the extent to which it goes. But how would Dillahunty's argument not apply to what Quantum just proposed? In the same sense, we can't conscript a woman to carry a child to term.
No, we can't, and that's why a lot of states you can perfectly legally drop an infant or a child of any age really off at fire stations or hospitals.
Okay, that's true.
Question fast. Just walk away. There are a lot of states where that's legal.
So then on the flip
It should
side,
be legal everywhere.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Like this, is that the safe haven?
The argument could be that if an abortion quite close to third trimester, the baby, when aborted, is perfectly capable of surviving and thriving.
Remembering correctly, I think there are exactly 4 doctors in the United States who will perform a late-term abortion, and like something like 99.9% of the late-term abortions they perform are in order to either save the life of the mother or prevent a baby being born who would live a very short, very painful life.
Okay, so
as in like serious medical conditions are about the only reason anybody aborts late term.
okay, so I guess all of us are agreed that you wouldn't want to do a late term abortion if it wasn't necessary.
Exactly. You wouldn't want to. Certainly not. But that option should be there. You see what I mean?
Would you have that option? I mean, because for example in the UK, the law is essentially, I think you can have an abortion up until about the 28th week, and you can have abortion after the 28th week if there's some extenuating reason, such as the mother's life is in danger, or she didn't know she was pregnant, or some sort of sexual assault, that sort of thing. Would you disagree with the current UK status quo?
24 weeks is that's pretty reasonable.
Hey, I got a question. Does anyone know how many times a mom's life is in danger? How many times that happens?
Preeclampsia is incredibly common.
Okay.
And preeclampsia can kill the mother. Like, it can. It's your blood pressure, I think it's incredibly high, if I'm remembering correctly. It's really, really high blood pressure, which can kill both mother and fetus.
For the benefit of those that don't know, including myself, could you explain what preeclampsia is?
Let me look up a thing so I can give correct information. Let's see if I spelled it right. Close.
I think the problem with this whole abortion thing is people don't realize how much a woman's life can be in danger from childbirth.
Yeah. Okay, preeclampsia is a disorder of pregnancy characterized by high blood pressure and a large amount of protein in the urine. The disorder usually occurs in the 3rd trimester of pregnancy and gets worse over time. In severe cases, there may be red blood cell breakdown, a low blood platelet count, impaired liver function, kidney dysfunction, swelling, shortness of breath due to fluid in the lungs, or visual disturbances. Preeclampsia increases the risk of poor outcomes for both, and by poor outcomes they mean death, for both the mother and the baby. If left untreated, it may result in seizures, at which point it is known as eclampsia. And there are a handful of risk factors listed. Basically, it's a fairly common thing that can kill people.
Like almost 5%?
Where'd you get 5%?
5%, yeah. Oh, that's
affects 2 to 8% of pregnancies worldwide. Hypertensive disorders of pregnancy, which include preeclampsia, are one of the most common causes of death due to pregnancy. They resulted in 29,000 deaths in 2013, which was down from 37,000 in 1990, and I'm not sure where those stats come from. Looks like global, so it's the...
Global? Okay.
Yeah. Mortality and causes of death collaborators, published 17 December 2014. Global, regional, and national age, sex, specific, all cause, etc. From 1990 to 2013. Lancet is where it came from. Let's see, preeclampsia usually occurs after 32 weeks. However, if it occurs earlier, it is associated with worse outcomes. Women who have had preeclampsia are at increased risk of heart disease and stroke later in life. Etymology of the word comes from the Greek term for lightning. That's interesting. But yeah, thing that can kill you, or lead to your death later.
So moving on a little bit, since we all seem to be in agreement, and it would, if anyone that's watching disagrees, it would be really nice to have a little bit of dissent. But otherwise, what's people's views on the recent Planned Parenthood scandal? I think there was an insinuation that I don't know whether or not it's true, that Planned Parenthood was selling human body parts. People heard about that?
Oh,
Yeah,
that bunch of horse shit.
I got some good laugh on that.
Yeah, but the sad part is the dumbass Republicans are using that fake, that they know is fake, footage to lobby for ending Planned Parenthood's
Federal funding. They want to kill all federal funding for Planned Parenthood. What's hilarious is they're doing that because they think that the federal money goes to fund abortions. And mind you, only 3% of what Planned Parenthood does is perform abortions. 3%. 3.
And none of that is federal money because it's illegal.
Yeah, because it is illegal. Federally funded abortions are illegal. It's on the books 1,000 times.
But these are fucking politicians, for God's sake.
Yeah, they don't. What do they need to know the laws for?
I mean, if you can't look up the fucking law and know what it says, I don't think that these people are as dumb as they're pretending to be.
What's funny is even when you watch like the edited footage, if I'm recalling correctly, it's pretty obvious the woman is talking to somebody about how much it's going to cost Planned Parenthood to ship and store the fetal tissues that have been willfully donated for science research by the would-be mothers.
It's sad.
Because it's a story. They need to break even. Planned Parenthood needs to break even.
I think Planned Parenthood should now videotape all of its meetings because.
Oh, she wasn't. Yeah. Oh, you think they should videotape all of them now?
Yeah.
So the idiot conservatives can perform more hatchet jobs?
No, so they can't perform more hatchet jobs because now, Planned Parenthood will have a video of the exact same meeting, and then...
Yeah, but the unedited footage wound up being released as well.
Oh, eventually, but it comes down to, like, the Breitbart scandal, Acorn scandal of people losing their jobs, and then because of some asshole, and then there's no, and then it's proven that it's fake and nobody gets in trouble for falsifying evidence, or that's bullshit.
The video that they showed on the Magic Sandwich Show, can I be heard? Is it working?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay, cool. I wasn't sure. The video that was on the Magic Sandwich Show of the people, trying to buy the fetuses, essentially, I guess, it was obvious, it was obvious that it was, it wasn't happening. I mean, it was just, it showed that it was maybe susceptible to, happening, but, they weren't a real organization that, the people filming it.
There wasn't any buying happening.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It wasn't about buying anything. It was about what Planned Parenthood would have to pay for storage and transportation costs. And can they afford to do that because they want donation to be an option for their patients and, for science. But if it's too expensive, they can't do it.
Yeah.
Because then they're not breaking even, and Planned Parenthood being a non-profit means they don't have overhead, or they don't have much overhead.
Well, there's one point in the second video that came out that the person that wanted the fetuses was willing to pay more, and she's like, no, just 50 or something, and how is that making money? I don't.
No, it was the other way around. Planned Parenthood was the one doing the paying. Was the one that was doing the paying. They were talking to a storage and transportation facility to transport the fetal tissue to labs for research.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How much do we have to pay you so that your company will handle the tissue?
So I thought that they were just...
Yeah, and figuring out what kind of procedures to use in order to, A, priority is the patient, but B...
I might be talking about two different things. Are you referring to the video that was on the Magic Sandwich Show, at the start, the first video they showed? Or are you referring to, another example? This...
I'm referring to what was actually being discussed as opposed to the chopped up nonsense.
Okay.
Because when they chopped it up, they made it sound different, but they did it poorly. Because even in the others, if I'm remembering correctly, it's been a bit since I've watched any of the videos, but if I'm remembering correctly, even in the cut up version, it was really obvious, especially in the first one, that what they were doing was finding out how much it would cost to store and transport, how much it was going to cost Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think it was. I mean, the actual footage is much longer than.
It's 2 hours long.
Yeah, one of the first cutout bits that they mentioned, it didn't talk about particular values. It just sort of insinuated a potential incentive to the place if they were able to produce, viable specimen or whatever. Yeah, it's for the people to freak out and say that these organizations need to be shut down just because there's a potential loophole for illegal activity to occur. It's just wrong. You just bring it up and you address it and you fix it and you move on. I mean,
exactly.
Shut the businesses down. I mean, that's not the purpose that they're running. I mean, they serve a greater purpose in the community, and it's just silly fear-mongering sort of tactics. So.
Yep.
And they're targeting towards Christians as well. It's retarded.
I'm not even sure how. What's the sort of? I don't know what the typical in America. I mean, there's different areas of the US, obviously, but what's the typical Christian sort of right-wing take on abortion in terms of
Never, not ever.
Never, not ever. So
Not always, because in the black community, which is strongly religious, they are a religious community that more or less allows, I wouldn't say embraces abortion, but certainly allows and permits for it, which is interesting. It's an interesting sort of,
That is interesting.
yeah, because like you wouldn't expect that, but it is the one.
Especially coming out of like Southern Baptist churches, shit.
You get a lot of that in the black community. It's pretty common to, talk to somebody in their 30s who's had at least one. I mean, it's not that uncommon.
Well, no.
So what's the reason that the religious right in America and maybe Christianity in general is quite caustic towards the idea of abortion?
They claim the Bible is against it.
When did that?
I say claim. I watched some of R and Raw's older videos recently. They popped up in my feed after I'd been looking at Planned Parenthood stuff on YouTube, and he actually broke down at one point some stuff from the Jewish Talmud that apparently it was in reference to, I think it's somewhere in Leviticus. There is the bit about if you think your wife has been unfaithful, make her drink this potion, and here are instructions on how to make it. And if she's been unfaithful and is pregnant, I think it says something about and is with child, her thigh will wither and fall off, and she'll be infertile forever. But if you look at the Jewish writings of the time, their belief on fetuses was that up until I think the 40th week, it was considered a part of the fetus was considered a part of the woman, a piece of her. It was like an organ, and specifically named a thigh. I think it was specifically referenced as her thigh, one of her thighs. She's got an extra thigh, 3 of them now. And
good news for leg men around.
Yeah. So basically, the Bible completely endorses abortion, as do the older Jewish interpretations, which is where we get the Talmud.
It makes me wonder. You know what? That whole concoction makes me wonder how many women they killed before they got the right one.
Yeah. Well, also in the Talmud, in the bits about the when the fetus becomes its own entity and whatnot, there are descriptions, like graphic descriptions apparently, of how to perform a partial birth abortion. Like, essentially, life for the fetus doesn't start until it breathes.
Wow.
Yeah.
They need to, put this out there.
Yeah, like, this should be common knowledge, you'd think, but...
Yeah, I mean, I was brought up it's like a Christian sort of home in Australia, but there's like Pentecostal Christian sort of thing. It's sort of
those are fun.
a different
I used
sort
to
of
be
take.
one of them.
Yeah, Holy Spirit and shit. And but the take that I was sort of given, I guess, was sort of like that in some way. I mean, life. If someone gets someone pregnant, it's like it's a life straight away because it's potential life, and so it's almost like the only way in which you could have an abortion, or you should have an abortion, is if there was life, there was a danger to the mother, there was a danger to the baby as well, that type of thing.
Yeah.
That was the only time that it would be appropriate to do that, and it was sort of like, it's a chance this baby, it's going to grow, and you'll regret it if you don't,
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about that is, even if you don't have risk factors, carrying a fetus to term is always a risk to the mother. It's always a risk. There is always the potential that something horrible could happen. and she could die. Like, take my mother, for example. If she had had my brother, my sister, and I, well, she wouldn't have had my brother or I, honestly. If she'd had my sister 100 years ago, she would have died in childbirth. Because her blood type is O negative. And her children are all O positive. And O negative is a universal donor, but can't take anything but O neg. And they die. It's blood poisoning. And mothers, if they don't receive there's some drug that has to be injected within like a couple hours of delivery in order to keep the mother from dying. And if it's not given, the mother will die. And it has to do with women who are O negative. It's just their blood type.
I'm guessing that's like an autoimmune type thing.
Yeah, it is not. It's an auto. It's a response to the wrong blood. It's the same response anybody has if the wrong blood type is given. It's just more severe in women who are O negative, apparently.
Okay. Do people think we've exhausted the topic of abortion? Unless there's any more insightful comments that people want to make on it, or we can move on to something else.
I think this one is heading into the final trimester.
Okay. So what's people's views on Kent Hovind being released from prison? Do you think people should be able to give him a platform? So Magic Sandwich Show talked about whether or not to have Kent Hovind onto their show and do a debate between Alan Rao and Kent Hovind. So there's two schools of thought here. The first school of thought is that you need to debate people like this in order to show their ideas are without merit. And the second school of thought is that giving someone a platform gives them credibility and treats them with more respect than they deserve. So where do people come on this?
Well, if I can go first, I recently, well, within the past couple of weeks, have been on about that we shouldn't be fighting religion because, well, religion is just the symptom. It's magical thinking. It's at the heart of this problem. So I don't think that we should be, sort of debating religion. That we should be debating logic and morality, and bring the conversation back from religion into logical morality, logic and morality. Excuse me.
So people say that atheism is the conclusion, not the reason, but it still doesn't really answer my question. Do you think we should be debating do you think we should be debating logic and rationality with people like Kent Hovind, who clearly want the attention and platform, especially after Kent's been in prison for a good decade, where he's no longer deemed irrelevant even by people in his own clique? Do you think we should be giving the credit people like Kent Hovind the credibility? It's the same thing with the Bill Nye versus Ken Ham. Do you think it does more damage to debate them and show that these ideas are flawed to perhaps a third party who might be convinced by these ideas? Or do you think that even acknowledging them does more harm than good, because it that implicitly gives credibility in itself?
I don't think it's the right answer. Like, I think it's a bit of both.
I don't think that just having a discussion with someone like on TV gives them credibility, because you can let people tie their own noose and whatever. So I don't think putting them on TV gives them credibility whatsoever.
Not so much these days, at least. It used to be, pretty amazing if you're on TV, because only a small handful of people are on TV. But nowadays, everyone's on some sort of film. Everyone has their own, Instagrams. They got their own YouTube
I was on
channels.
TV once.
Congratulations.
No, I was in 8th grade. They were doing a thing on the peer assistance leadership program, and so I was sitting at my desk. It was basically stock footage of, students at desks.
I mean, you have to argue bad ideas. I mean, because the problem is that if you don't, then people can come across only the bad side of the argument, so to speak, and be taken in by it, be duped by it. And then if you don't provide argument and explanation around it, then people can't think their way out of it. They can't find the right answer.
Well, I think it really comes down, I think, to actually something that was said in the Nye-Ham debate when asked, if I remember correctly, they were asked, both Bill Nye and Ken Ham were asked, what would convince you that you're wrong?
Yes, but
Yeah.
my experience of being a Christian, you still challenge and question the things which don't add up, but you just sort of question it and all that in a way, which is where you're sort of trying to look into the religion for the answers, I guess. But so it's sort of like you're looking at the wrong place for the answers to the same sort of feelings and emotions that everyone experiences, and things that happen in life. So.
Yeah, but
I
mean, the Nye-Ham debate, you don't really go into those kind of debates. The value proposition isn't that you're going to change anybody's mind on stage and Ham's going to go, oh, you're right, like, oh man, I was totally wrong.
Certainly not.
But the idea is that there's people on the fence in the audience, and it's debates like that, not that one per se, but it's debates like that ultimately help me get rid of my faith. And there's going to be people in the audience that are going, he's got a point, and they'll start looking, and they'll go down that path of questioning things. It's a slow process. It's something, giving up faith is, for anybody who wasn't, it takes a lot of time and a lot of, and you eventually have to be not just persuaded of the facts, but persuaded that facts are good in the first place and not something to be mistrusted or, the scientific, conspiracy. You got to sort of come with age and time, you sort of come to the conclusion that, obviously I want to believe as many true things about the world around me as possible. And those are really the people that benefit in the audience. And it's not an immediate benefit. It's not like, how did Europe and, I just visited my friends in Sweden, how does some of the Scandinavian countries come to be so secular? Did they do it by debate, or did it just fade away? Did it just become this old, tired, mythos that they just eventually grew out of, that it served its purpose and it no longer did? And I wonder often how Europe came to be so secular, and if it had anything to do with really getting together and debating, with a bunch of these idiots. Sometimes it feels like you're hitting your head against the wall with these people. I mean, I've had several myself, and I've gotten out of it in recent months because I don't even see the long-term benefits of it. Some of these people are just so devoted to their faith. It's just something that, on the other hand, it's like, I value our free speech, and it's something you don't want to go away, and something we should exercise. On the other hand, it's like, is this how I want to exercise it? Is it doing any good? Or would we just be better if these people sound and look stupid, like you said, just give them the rope to hang yourself?
Yeah, the only basic big win I ever got with debating a Christian was, I asked her a question: if there was a God but no heaven or hell, would you still worship God? She says, well, no, because I guess it'd be no point. And that's basically the only win I ever got by debating a Christian. So I just think that we could, if we talk more about morality and everything without, outside of the realm of religion, that we can get far better, results. But even if the person doesn't trust a religion or at least they'll have tools to recognize what is real from what isn't real. And maybe they will start questioning the religion. And so when they get there, when they're ready to criticize that, they'll have the tools to do so.
It's honestly, it's not even that the debates are the primary factor. I think every time one of these idiots comes up on the news and says something like something cringeworthy about something repressive, something trying to keep women, pretty much barefoot and chained in the kitchen. Anytime they say some cringy shit, I think that does far more, does them a disservice far more than we could in debate. I mean, I just think it's a natural evolution out of that mindset, and it's just outlived its usefulness, and it's really just tired. And every time one of them pops up and says something like that, I'm like, yep, that's what I'm talking about. And people go, oh yeah, people just slowly start backing away, and eventually they become, well, I'm not, no denomination, I'm not denominational, and that's, well, I'm just more of a general deist, and that's like, well, I'm spiritual, and then it's, well, I'm nothing at all, so.
They've been struggling against, since, I don't know when, but the Christian church fighting against them being relevant and cool and hip and all this sort of stuff, like, it's really funny that there's Hillsong, I don't know, it's a church from the US, I think, but they have church in Sydney, Australia anyway, but they sort of rebranded towards music and started filling out, mega stadiums and stuff like that, and it's just interesting, it just takes a lot of time because people spend, religion takes up such a large part of people's lives that what are you going to replace that with straight away,
And religious music has never been as cool as regular music because it just, there's no way you can compete because religion doesn't come from a place of...
It's sort of designed, a lot of it, in a way that it's, meant for, atmospheric build-up and, come to climax and all that sort of stuff, to just coincide with the feeling and the motive of the night or whatever.
Such Andrew, the Thinking Atheist, I think just recently did a podcast on Christian music, and it was actually pretty funny. Because he brought one of these Christian rock stars on, and he's talking about how they're just as bad as regular rock stars, having groupie sex and just
Oh yeah.
and just how they're biting every style. So when rock was popular, it was all Christian rock groups, and I remember rap. My parents giving me Christian rap CDs, and they were so whack, they were so lame. And now it's Christian dubstep. It's well, what the hell? What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Christian.
I have a confession to make. I still own both a Creed CD and a DC Talk CD.
Oh wow, DC Talk.
DC Talk. I loved them, and I still get nostalgic.
Damn.
I saw them in concert twice with my church youth group. I used to have a shirt, even.
I remember we had speakers come from the US, a couple that I heard at different conferences. I don't know if you've ever heard of any of them, but we had Reggie Dabbs. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. I don't know. But they just talk about, they're just from some man. They're probably just from random churches in the US, and they just talk about them and they came over. But yeah. I remember he did this thing at a conference which it irritates the crap out of me to this day. So what happened was he spoke in front of the conference, everyone that was there, and in the auditorium or whatever, and he said that this child is very sick, she has cancer, and here is a photo of a scan or whatever, it was an MRI or something. And he's like, here it is, you can see there's this tumor or something, whatever. He pointed at the grey area on the scan and said, that's the cancer. We've got to all pray about this and believe that God's going to perform a miracle, blah, 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 blah. So you do all the praying and go away. Anyway, 2 days later, or the next day, or something like that, the next night, it's a big event, you know, it's the Saturday night of the conference, you know, everyone's up and about, you know, everyone's pinging and adrenaline and there's caffeine and whatever else happened, you know. And anyway, he presents this other image, and it's, you know, it's an image where it's clear now, you know, and everyone just, you know, cheers, and it's like, this is an amazing thing that just took place, you know.
Wow.
So he got healed and everything like that, and it's just so blatantly dishonest, because it's like, that just isn't.
And he knows it's completely dishonest. Like,
yeah, it took me so long to even like go back and think about this, because at the time, you know, when I was there, I was just experiencing it, went through it, you know, just took it as, you know, like, oh wow, you know, maybe that did happen, you know. And it took me a little while later to go back and think about it and think, oh my goodness, you know, it's just completely just fabricated, false, and I can't respect anyone who's, you know, doing that type of thing in front of people. But I guess maybe they think that it's for the greater good of people.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Unless
that
I lie
still
about
goes
this,
on.
Good, because no.
Saving those souls, you know, for that.
That still goes on today. There was a documentary about, I can't remember the name of it, but this people going around, these documentary people pretend to be, you know, sort of traveling preachers, and they to evangelize and heal, and they show how it was big money and that was all fake.
Oh, the faith healers, yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe that, you know, in America people fall for this. Even the
I
people
believe
that
it.
fall
Look at our
for
education system. Our public education system is screwed. It's horrible.
well, it's not as bad as Texas.
It's pretty good.
I'm from Texas.
Most of the rest of the world.
Oh,
The rest is better than most of
So-
the rest of the world.
Could you perhaps elaborate on why you think the education system is so screwed up?
Well, I mean, if you look at, especially if you look at Texas. Texas is my home state. I don't live there anymore. But it's where I'm from, and it's where I went to public school. I got taught that Reaganomics worked. It didn't.
So sorry again for
Let's see,
again for those that are
went for
of
sex
us that are
ed.
completely ignorant like me. Can you just tell me what Reaganomics is? I'm sorry.
Sorry. Reaganomics is trickle-down economics. The idea that by cutting taxes to the richest people in the country results in them, you know, making jobs and things, so it winds up benefiting the poor people who do not receive the tax break.
yeah.
So-
that's known as
so-
the most retarded tax plan.
Essentially fiscal conservatism in general.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the foundation of modern American fiscal conservatism is Reaganomics.
It's worse than that in Texas. So I lived also there for 2 years in Dallas, and it's worse than just the economics. I mean, every worst nightmare about your fundamentalist Christians, about the age of the earth, to abstinence only, to, you know, DARE, all the drug programs, all those failed policies came from that conservative, traditional mindset.
Can I just say I'm going to get so much flack for this, but it might be slightly different because of the context. I'm obviously not from Texas or the US, so the context of it's slightly different. But I am actually quite fiscally conservative. So in terms of economic views, I am quite right wing. I'm prepared to be persuaded otherwise, but I do see that there is some benefit.
I am as well. I'm a pretty free market dude. But it's really not the economics that are the. I mean, you got kids who are honestly believing, like I said, they'll come out of those public schools thinking the age of the earth is on the order of thousands of years. They'll come out really preaching. They really, especially in Texas, push this hard abstinence only thing, or at least they did. I don't know if they still do. But it wasn't just Texas. It was all over the country. I mean, these are massively failed. I mean, the teen pregnancy shot through the roof because kids weren't using protection rather than teaching them proper sex ed because that was the devil's, work.
And the whitewashing of American history.
Oh, yeah, that too. Definitely like
Yeah.
the slavery.
I got through high school before that started getting really bad again. So like, I learned growing up about all the fucked up shit we did to Native American, like white people, European Americans did to Native Americans and slaves and Chinese people. I learned all that shit growing up, and I learned in 5th grade about the Big Bang and evolution. And my sex ed class could have been a lot better, certainly. Like, could have covered scent and.
I mean, so your education was actually okay then? I mean, with
it was okay, but I graduated high school in 2003.
Oh, so things have got worse since 2003?
Significantly.
Really?
Yeah. Now it's absolutely awful. Moses was a founding father.
I think that there needs to be a law of consistent education and what is truthful, because, and maybe an agency to, deal with that, because the states have too much power over what they teach over kids, and there's no.
If let's think about humans as nomads, if who were at risk of being attacked by large predators, for example large cats, and if they had a near-death encounter with a large cat, for example, then it kind of makes sense that in similar circumstances there's that very strong sort of uncontrollable reaction, the sort of fear response that makes you want to get away. The paradox behind this, of course, is that in a lot of cases it can cause you to freeze, which presumably isn't too helpful if a lion's going to eat you.
No. It's really fight, flight, or freeze.
Yes, exactly. This was the most common. The whole thing about trigger warnings is, again, the fight or flight response. It's essentially your life is an imminent risk. It happens when you think that you're going to. I mean, you might not think you're going to die, but your brain thinks that you're going to die.
Your body thinks you're going to die.
Exactly. So again, one of the most common examples is of course in war situations where there's death around us, and we have an understanding of when we're in danger. So you can kind of understand that. But the issue with trigger warnings is, I mean, firstly people slap them on anything, so they get it to the extent that there's no flight or fight response. I mean, the closest near-death experience I had was I was nearly killed by a horse when I was, I guess, about 8 or 9. And that's probably the closest I got. But I mean,
what did you do to the horse?
The situation. There was a horse in a field, and I don't know exactly why. I mean, my memory is a little bit vague on this, but it broke down the fence and came charging at me.
You got too close, and you didn't.
I was nowhere near the horse. The horse was in a field opposite me, and it was obviously bothered by something. It was just charging around the field. I mean, I never seen. I mean, I've never seen a horse behave like this before. It was charging around the field. I mean, again, horses are usually quite docile animals, but it was charging around the field, which was a quite odd behaviour for a horse. It broke down the fence, which is even more odd behaviour, and it came charging straight at me. And my response, my response, I can kind of remember. My response at that point was just to freeze. I didn't do anything. I didn't try to run away. That was the sort of the frozen in fear type response.
That's actually the correct response with a horse, though.
Is it? Okay, so that's probably why it stopped short. You know, in the movies where they stop short and raise their front legs up, and that's what.
Because when they run at you, usually they're trying to see if they can make you move. It's a dominance thing.
Okay,
if they make you move, then they're the boss of you.
So I probably okay. So I can see the evolutionary advantage there.
Yeah.
But okay, so the
horse
point.
Logic, yay!
But the point is, it would be impractical to every time I go into a shop and see a horse book for someone to put up. I mean, saying that, I've actually been horse riding since that instance, so I don't think I've ever actually been triggered by that. But near-death experiences, that sort of thing. There's when you've got something like PTSD, when that sort of exposure is long term. I mean, rather than my exposure, which was rather acute, but when it's long term, I can kind of understand it. That obviously the response is going to be worse with regard to a thing like PTSD. So I can understand that. But what people are sort of degrading this idea of trigger, because originally it did mean something important. I mean, people in plane crashes and
it had a good idea. Like, it was a good at heart. I mean, it's only to.
The idea was to be nice to people, but.
I mean, I would go as far to say that it's kind of God, I don't want to use this word, but it's kind of quite offensive to the
safe, and we were just running out of shit to just get grievanced over, and it cheapens the experience.
I don't know, but you have to be careful though, and consider people who are like, deeply and sincerely, like not overly, but
of course,
particularly empathetic and that type of thing. So, I mean, they need to avoid those sorts of things, because if they just viewed those sorts of things, all day, it would just be sort of.
But if we look at, sorry, go ahead.
It's got to be within reason, I think. Like, you can't, in a general sense, I think it's fine to say, like, I mean, on the news, it's just become common sense to hear them say, commonplace, I mean, to hear them say, there's certain footage might some viewers. I mean,
it's inversely proportional to how severe the content is, right? So the higher something is rated, so let's say that you give it the highest possible rating, the proportion of content that has the highest possible rating has got to be quite low, because if it's not, then you're implying that something that's quite common is also something that's quite severe, and that's just generally not the case. So the trouble with this is, if you give everything trigger warnings, then what you're saying, whether or not you intend to do this, but what you are saying is that it doesn't matter, it's trivial, because if everything, and let's imagine that absolutely everything had a trigger warning, well, that's exactly the same that if nothing had a trigger warning, it's exactly the same thing, and of course it would mean that the one thing that didn't have a trigger warning, what would be like, that would be the outstanding exception, but we want the trigger warning to be the thing that's outstanding, the thing that people, this is the whole ridiculous thing. If you want, it's like your signature, the value of your signature is inversely proportional to the number of people you hand it out to. If you're a famous person and anyone asks you and you just hand out your signature, then your signature is going to be it's going to be cheap. Whereas if you only hand out your signature to a select few, then your signature is going to be more valuable. It's simply common sense. And with the trigger warning system, it's the same. If you want to devalue the concept of trigger, the single best way of doing that is to give everything trigger warnings.
Mm-hmm. What I'm talking about, this is why I say it's been cheapened. That's why the word, literally in the market sense, you've just had this flood of capitulation to saying people are victims or privileged or this or that, and when you append the word trigger to it, you're implying that you're a victim of something, and it just becomes more outlandish what you're a victim of. You're a victim of speech. You're a victim of being looked at the wrong way, or man-spreading, or whatever. Like, it's just like, who's getting who though? We're talking about upper middle class people who talk about this shit. People in inner cities aren't talking about trigger warnings. They're dealing with actual problems. People in poor countries don't talk about trigger warnings. It's not a surprise if these things pop up where we have nothing else to complain about, but the AC in the building is too gendered and all this other shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's
people
like
in my trailer park are not talking about trigger warnings.
Exactly.
And you know what really pisses me off though, is they do all this fucking bullshit just to try, because they say they want equality, but not one of these motherfuckers, not one of these feminists on Tumblr or Twitter will even talk about the women in the Middle East.
Yeah.
That's because they don't give a shit.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't give a shit about those women.
They want to be the victim, and if they point out women who are having I mean, do we still have some like equal rights issues in the U.S.? Certainly. We were just talking about abortion for a fucking hour. You know, certainly. And of course, you know, the male end of that as well, with the child support. There we go. That men should be able to opt out as well. But when you compare our issues with going, no, stupid conservatives, you cannot take away our right to abort, to women who are getting stoned to death for
being raped.
For being raped, yes, or for losing their veil in a windstorm, or walking somewhere unescorted, driving a car.
Well,
You know,
yeah.
when you compare these things, you know,
being trained up to as sex slaves or to fight.
yeah, being sold as sex slaves, or having their labia sewn together or removed as children, or their breasts.
That's not as bad as catcalling, you see. And that
Yeah,
needs
no,
more
catcalling
attention.
much worse.
Yeah, that needs more attention.
But I mean,
Even,
I mean,
like-
part of the problem with the progressive stack, as it's so called, is that the common objection to all this sort of stuff is that you can't judge other cultures because that's racist. So it can't be sexist, because in order to say that women have it bad in the Middle East and China, North Korea, whatever, you have to. That's racist, right? You can only complain about things that are caused by the Western world, by the what was it called, the hetero.
Oh yeah, it's racist because Islam is now
patriarchy or something. So,
No.
so you know, to even suggest any of this is to be a racist. So you cannot win.
I don't agree with that. I don't think that's why people refrain from mentioning, like you talk, your average Tumblr feminist or whoever, SJW. I don't think they refrain from mentioning that because they're, you know, not trying to appropriate cultures. I think they're refraining from mentioning other people because it would take the attention off of them.
Yeah,
That's the real answer.
it removes many levels of their victimhood.
The Olympics thing going on, and exactly, it just removes that from. It greatly puts into perspective how good they have it, and how little they should be complaining about, and they don't want that.
Yeah, like, are there still like?
It's fashionable. It's fashionable.
Certainly.
I'm not sure that there's a. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm not sure what your views are at all, but exactly. But I mean, do you guys agree that, you know, within families, well, I don't know, you know, particularly in the US, but I mean, like, there's things like, you know, girls have, you know, the girls being pretty and the girl, you know, like sexually gendered, you know, like language particularly, that's all based on like, you know,
No, I think
influencing the individual to act in or behave in a certain way.
A
and
lot
then
of it is.
downtrodden their behavior if they act out of line to that behavior.
Yeah, I think
mean-
a lot of it is.
But
Sorry.
I mean, I'm not sure I agree. I think there is sort of an innate biological component. I mean, like.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, no, we're sexually dimorphic, certainly.
I mean, again, I think we're gonna. I think with regards to the brief discussion on economics, we might disagree here, because my view on all this is that, again, with the whole free market thing, if the free, I mean, within reason, of course, but if something is profitable, then it will succeed. So the whole thing about for example, dividing shops into the boys area and the girls area. The reason that the reason that department stores do that is not out of any sense of sexism. It's because they know it works from a capital point of view. Now, whether or not you disagree with that viewpoint. I mean, like I said, you might disagree with the whole premise of capitalism. That's fine, but I don't.
Understand that. Yeah,
But I
understand,
don't
like,
think it's due to. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think that the whole boy and girl area section thing is that advertisers figured out long ago if you can target an entire demographic and make more money off that demographic than you would just target.
Yeah. The problem, the demographic exists, like the demographic of, you know, the reason that the girls are picking the pink cars and the reason that the girls are picking the dolls or whatever is because of those cultural things, and and family-based things that are happening within the homes and within the schools and within friendship groups and all those things.
And because
so,
we're sexually dimorphic,
I mean,
so like young females are more likely to gravitate towards something they can nurture, because women, like, biologically speaking, are kind of.
I don't.
You know what I mean?
Biologically,
I don't agree with that. I think everyone likes to play with Legos.
Oh yeah, Legos are fucking awesome, and Lincoln Logs. I miss Lincoln Logs.
Everyone likes to create and have this creative purpose.
Yeah.
But I don't think children at a young age like that are sort of. I don't think they have any idea what nurturing is, or maybe there's some biological instinct. But
You're wrong. You're wrong.
She's right. Reason why.
I'm pretty sure I'm right.
Yeah, I got to agree with Rose here. I mean,
it's a biological thing.
Talking about these companies who perpetuate these gendered aisles in Toys R Us or whatever you want to talk about, you're talking about it like they're not just companies that survive off a profit. Just like she said, these things work because it's bottom up. It's not top down. They're not pushing these things. They're responding. They're responding to boys and girls' different propensities to take different paths in life, and that's
correct. But why are they taking those different paths? You're suggesting that the reason they're taking those different paths is because sexual dimorphism, because males go this way and females go that way. That's not the whole picture.
No, it's in part, and it's not 100%.
People have different amounts of different hormones working within them, within their bodies. So
because we've seen the propensities for boys. Take the sexual dimorphism issue, not just any other
there's an argument there, and I guess there's also another thing where the second point we could argue about.
And I don't think there's any less demand for women's basketball teams because we have so many of them in high schools.
No, for girls love to play, but they need much smaller crowds than the boys do.
Yeah, you're so right, especially about basketball. Like I said, we don't want. Most girls just, they can't jump as high, they're not throwing it down, they're not 360 windmilling dunking. There's like 2 girls in the WNBA who can dunk barely. And those chicks are like 6'6". They're huge. It's like, come on, I can dunk. And I'm 6 foot. It's like that when you get to competition at that level, people get paid to see hard hits.
I don't get it.
That's just what people like. It's just one of those things that not everybody can do, so it looks cool when you see somebody. I'll give you one better. My mom works for part-time. She's a teacher at Alverno College, the all-women's college. She works in the technology department, and she sits on the board that's responsible for appropriating grants to women who even express any interest whatsoever in tech. And she comes home frustrated every day, talking about where they at. They're still going, even though
there aren't very many of us.
But you keep saying the problem. But this is what I'm saying, and this is where she's come to now. As a black woman, and she's grown, she's saying the same thing I'm saying. She's saying it might not be a problem. We're just calling it a problem because we're conflating inequality of outcome with inequality of opportunity.
Maybe it's not inequality of opportunity. Maybe we're just not teaching young girls. And you don't have to play family all the time. You can play.
Can I speak as a woman who's in tech and whatnot? I have worked in tech. I have tech support, fixing shit. And I have not experienced in the slightest any inequality of opportunity. In fact, every time I got hired to do tech support anywhere, to do anything computer related, everyone was excited. Oh look, we got another woman. This is exciting. Welcome to the team.
I get the same thing, and I was the only person in my state graduating with a BBA in finance, and I got no systematic rejection or barriers put up. I had people excited to have me at Merrill Lynch, excited to have me in the finance department, excited to feel like they were for once got a chance to choose from a diverse pool of applicants. Listen, I know a lot of black men, they just don't want to go into finance. It could be a cultural thing. Some of it's, school's lame, that's lame, and 9 to 5 is lame. But a lot of it, they just don't want it. And I'm not saying they don't have it. But I'm just saying, you can't look at Malcolm and be like, oh, there's a problem here. Some people just don't want it. And you can subsidize it all day. You could subsidize it all day and throw money in all day and tomorrow, and you're gonna get the same results my mom got in her department. A lot of women just don't want it. Some people just go into different things. You gotta let people choose. Is what I'm saying.
And those women who do get grants to get into tech, and they're like, oh sweet, I can get a scholarship if I decide to go tech or science. Sweet, I'm gonna do this. So now I have a scholarship, and they drop out.
I get real tired of people telling me. I get real tired of people telling me that there's a problem, especially with regards to me. It's like, well, don't you want more black men to do? I just want people to be happy. Whoever. I get tired of people telling me there's a problem where I don't see one, or telling me you've really been discriminated against. You just internalized it and you don't realize it yet. It's like bullshit, man. Yeah, bullshit. There's no problem.
But that doesn't mean that we understand that. I mean, I don't know. You can't say that every single black person in America is living the same life you are. I understand, but with the gender, back to the gender role thing just for a second. I agree that it's not important that you have equal, disparity of the gender for a particular, occupation or sport or particular what have you. But I'm just curious, apart from the fact, so let's say you're born a guy, right? Apart from, do you think that the fact that you have a penis makes you want to, play sport or, do the particular things that guys, want to do, in a sense? So it's sort of these things don't just sort of pop out of thin air.
I think the fact that I have testosterone makes me generally more competitive than somebody who wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would have
time up here because I'm a guy who's bi, but I have played a girl on the internet, and it's
straight
just but the expectations are different, and you do notice it, and it is very widely different. It's hard for me to sort of explain, but the expectations of how to act are totally different. And that's, maybe just people in general take it for granted.
Well, that sounds like legitimate discrimination. I'm not talking about my expectations. If a woman comes onto my team or if I'm playing ball, if she can play, then she can play. I don't really care. It's the same thing in any competitive culture. You get battle rap, you name it. It's not like we're keeping women out of battle rap. If she comes up there and spits bars, and that's good. And if she doesn't, she's going to get booed just like anybody else. That's all I'm expecting. Is if you come to compete and then you're as competitive, okay, you're on my team.
Yeah, that's it. The gender role thing just sort of is just further than, it's not just women, women around you. It's guys wanting to do things that, are considered feminine or feministic or whatever.
Oh yeah, I think that's.
And both ways. Yeah, and both ways.
It does, yeah, and I think that's wrong. Yesterday I went to get a pedicure, and my buddy's always roasting me for it. But I'm good. It is what it is. But
I just had pedicure back once.
I do. I treat myself, but I agree. There's some of that. There's some of that, and I think that is the kind of thing that we, as a society, can do better on. However, that's a far cry from the stretch that I'm hearing, talking about. Well, there's not enough women in tech, therefore there must be some kind of prevention on the front end. It doesn't follow. Just logically, it doesn't follow any kind of.
But
why not? Encourage, sure, but I don't need somebody to affirmative action me into a tech job. I can get a tech job on my own merit. Thank you.
Right. I don't like this. That's where I don't like it, is the subsidizing, the active throwing of money at it. selectively, it just screams. Yeah, just the affirmative action thing is one of those things that I feel like it started out as a good idea, but it does a lot more harm than good. I think because every time you throw money at somebody to do something that they don't necessarily want to do, you're disenfranchising somebody who did want to do that.
Well, I wasn't saying like throw money at the problem. I'm just saying that our culture can be the thing that, because we're a social species and we want to be accepted, and maybe our attitude, our ways of thinking towards the other gender, maybe we don't even realize that like I was saying to my friend, after you get hit on for the 100th time as a female, it's nothing special. In fact, it's pretty annoying.
No, sometimes it's nice, but it's the ones that won't leave me the fuck alone that are annoying.
Oh yeah, tell me.
Like that's when it's annoying, is when they're like following you the fuck down a dimly lit street and will not stop talking at you.
Well,
Leave me the fuck alone. Like.
They stepped into criminal territory there.
No. Nothing awful ever happened. Hey, Sokka.
Yeah, the worst ones I think are the hopeless romantic ones. I cannot stand them. It's like, no, I don't need this. But yeah, there is. I don't know how to put it, but there is kind of this expectation of how people act, and people will kind of subconsciously go wrong because we're social species and we want to be accepted. So
it's like I'm probably thinking of an example. Like I'm just thinking of an example. Like when I was younger, just think just to the school or something like that, where I don't know, you went somewhere socially and you wore something particularly, and someone made fun of it for a particular reason, or someone said something that you were like made you turned off by it or whatever. Like little things like that just happen and just influences you a little bit. And it's not like. I mean, you can't control it all, and you can't like. I mean, it would be
but it's
insane to say like, well, we've all got to look at everything completely neutrally, Like,
no.
Everything's great,
I get that there's little what do they call it, microaggressions. I get that those add up, but that's still not an excuse. My dad is an executive at GE. My mom's an executive at IBM. My sister has her master's from DePaul. We were raised to not see things like that, and definitely not let things like that dissuade us. Because if they did dissuade us, we didn't want it that bad to begin with. We were just raised to accept as a matter of life there's going to be people all around us our whole life who don't look like us and might not welcome us, but to still go after what we want. And that's just how I was raised. So if you want something, you go get it, and it's easier than ever to go get it now. So for the people who don't got it, it's not an excuse to be like, well, yeah, I never went to college because I knew I was going to get 1,000 microaggressions. That's not good enough. It's not.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, my 1,000 microaggressions.
I'm walking to any barbershop in America, and they've got 1,000 excuses about how the white man's keeping them down. It's like, brother, did you even try? Did you try? Really, did you? I get that we get shit. I get that we get pulled over, and yeah, that shit's not fair. But at the end of the day, you got to put yourself in a position to achieve something that you want. Do you really want it? Is my question. So if a girl's gonna say, yeah, I was gonna go into tech or go be an astronaut, but yeah, I heard it was really misogynistic, and it's like, well, how so? Well, because they make little jokes, something like that. It's easier than ever to make those jokes stop. It's easier than ever to file a complaint and put a stop to all that shit. People are actually listening nowadays. People care.
I don't like the culture though, where banter and jokes are not allowed. I mean, I think one thing that helps us get through the misery of life is banter and joviality. And I mean, take this hangout for. The amount of jokes that's happened in this hangout been broadcasted and in the text is quite significant. I mean, people joke at each other all the time. I think it's such a shame that comedy is something that's being demonised, and people just don't understand the difference between comedy and actual serious when people actually are genuine. It's a god awful shame, really.
Comedy's dying. Jerry Seinfeld just did that thing about how he won't play colleges anymore in America.
Mm-hmm. Can you blame him?
Comedy is an issue. Yeah.
Colleges
Yeah,
are getting scary.
I mean, coming back briefly to the education thing. So, I mean, why is it then that the colleges and the schools are so politically different? Where does this come from? I mean, you say that it's some.
It's that because in America we see an adult at age 18, college starts at age 18. The government doesn't have as much say about what happens to somebody or what's in their curriculum after age 18.
Colleges self-regulate much more than public schools. Public schools can't really self-regulate.
Okay,
like if an individual high school wants to teach, actual sex ed instead of abstinence only, if it is the law of the state they're in to teach abstinence only, they get fired.
Religious and have this sort of right-leaning ideology and who are willing to teach this stuff. It's quite popular, but when left alone by the state, why is it that the sort of natural course of events is for things to shift so dramatically the other way? But I mean, this doesn't happen in the UK so much. I mean, in the UK we don't really have a right-wing government in the same sense that you do. But
yeah,
the sort of but I mean, the same sort of thing really doesn't happen in the UK. So okay, there is a problem with sort of what do you call it, leftist bias. Oh God, I'm starting to sound like Fox News now. In universities, but it's for a start, it's far less extreme than it is in the US. And secondly, we don't have the sort of right wing influence in schools. So how is it that in the US everything is so much more polarized than it is in Europe?
I don't know.
Idea. I honestly have no idea how it got this bad or why the gap is so big. I don't know.
Because there was been a lack of critical thinking for the last 16 years, or 26 years, I should say.
At least it's like two political differences instead of in Australia, where it's like you can choose this particular people who have invested interests with these few people, or you could pick this people who have invested interests with this few handful of people. It's like,
I just learned a thing like last night about how we wound up being a two-party system, and I want to say I think it was either Reagan or Carter. One of them essentially told the media, "Oh no, y'all don't have to cover any of the third parties anymore. The Democrats and the Republicans, they're the only ones that matter." And the media listened.
Yeah, we have all these other parties.
I don't know why, but every fucking Republican is a fanatic about Reagan. I have no idea
Especially
why.
considering that man would not get elected if he were running now. Like on the same principles and everything that he ran on when he was elected, he would not be elected.
Yeah.
He is so much more liberal than our conservatives are now.
Oh yeah, I mean, our conservatives now are basically one step away from the loony bin. And still people follow them.
Yeah.
I noticed that you've joined soccer. Did you want to make any points? We sort of left the abortion discussion a while ago, but if you have any interesting points to make.
No, my only, sorry, I am distracted by Michael and dumb fucking bitchery, whatever, putting more anti-vax and shit out there, so I'm just sidetracked talking.
Give them the Penn and Teller video.
Sorry.
Like, we need to just like strap people like anti-vaxxers to chairs and make them watch the Penn and Teller video that they did about vaccinations on a loop.
They probably have an excuse for it.
Like,
I mean, I was talking to a flat earther the other day. He was like, "Well, I don't see any video of the Earth." I'm like, "It's fucking everywhere. It's in everything. It's on TV all the time. It's just, I mean, the astronauts have shot video of it, and they're like, oh no, it's not real. I'm like,
Hoax.
Is he aware of this thing called the? Does he know what a modem is? I'm not sure that he would. I'm
These
just
people
gonna
are
put that
on
out there. Yeah. They're online. Well, yeah, I don't know. But maybe they're running the God's filter. Is there a filter for like Christianity? Can you get like a filter for your?
There probably
internet?
is.
Yeah, like the Great Wall of
Is
Christianity.
that an American problem? The whole anti-vax, flat Earth is that generally observed anywhere else, or is that primarily an American problem?
I wouldn't say there was an anti-vax situation.
There's a little bit of anti-vax here. There's a little bit of anti-vax. We've had bouts of whooping cough.
Yeah. And Canada too.
Which, yeah. But it was spoken about in the news, and basically, app pollies and stuff, have made stronger policies about it once it's spoken about. So I guess, yeah, there's still people who are duped into that sort of stuff. But I mean, we're so heavily influenced by the US anyway that there's large portions of our population that just, float into different things that are happening in the US or, their particular, agendas and stuff like that. Like gay marriages or, quality of marriage or whatever is like a big hot topic thing here. It's almost like the cool thing to be into at the moment or something, which was like exactly the same over in the US not that long ago, in a way.
oh yeah.
And now
But
the party has settled.
You know what's cool about it, though? It's cool that, a majority of the people have changed their mind about gay marriage.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
And that's like one of the biggest changes of people's minds in history in the shortest span of time.
Well, when you
Or
compare it
it's
to
probably got something to do with, people between the ages of 80 and 100, large portion of them dying over the last 10 years.
Yeah. But no,
And
but
then, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh.
No.
Okay. No, when you compare the marriage equality fight to like interracial marriage in the 60s, right? Interracial marriage was legalized nationwide well before there was actually a majority, interracial marriage is okay opinion. Whereas here it took something like 2 years after we'd reached a majority of just citizens in the US saying, yeah, marriage equality, that should be a thing. Stop being stupid. Like it was something like 58%. Like a year or two ago, it was 58% thought gay people should have just as much ability to get married as straight people, whereas in the 60s, I think it was only like 20 or 30% when the Supreme Court was like, yeah, stop killing people because they're wanting to get married to people who are different races. That's stupid.
What's happening here at the moment is that all the rights for basically heterosexual couples is all that available, and because through legislative process and different things, they just started passing different laws and started rewriting things, and now it's got to a point where it's literally just a matter of them being able to go and get a certificate of marriage under Australian law. That's basically the last thing almost, and so that's what's making it so slow, because it's like people can argue a lot easier against it here because it's like, well, it really is only the piece of paper, they can do all the, everything's exactly the same amounts of payments, same tax benefits, all the same things. It's just that, but I mean, obviously you make an argument for it, but it's sort of making it a little bit slower.
That makes sense. Because, here we didn't have, gay couples getting married did not get, the civil union option and whatnot did not come with all of the same, tax and whatnot benefits. Like there are gay couples wherein one partner adopted the other in order for them to be legally united, like adopted them. as like, now you're my child, even though you're 6 months younger than me. Like, in order to have some legal say in the event of like an accident.
Civil unions were kind of a legal loophole,
Yeah, but they didn't come with all of the same as getting married. That's the problem.
I think it's been through the fact that people telling other Christians that Christianity does not own marriage. It was not invented by Christianity.
Yeah. In fact, Christians outlawed gay marriage at one point. They changed the definition. I think it was like 200-ish BC, or maybe 300 or 400, somewhere in there. Or not BC, sorry, CE.
It predates Christianity anyway. But
No, like the outlawing of gay marriage, like making gay marriage illegal, happened after Constantine.
Okay.
Yeah, it just surprised me that, people want to force their religion on other people, and it is their religion, but yet they're smart enough to realize that that's what they're doing. It's been a topic that many people are still muggy about, and they don't understand that this is just about equality, not about religion.
Yeah. Get your church out of my state, or person. I don't know.
Anyway, I think it's basically been 2 hours now, and we managed to do the whole thing without any pornography, which is a first.
Well, there are some cute legs walking past on the street there, and I guess webcam at some point.
But yeah, I think the porn bombing must have become a little bit old. But yeah, I think it's been 2 hours now, so I think actually, how do I go offline? I've forgotten. With XSplit. Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry, I jumped in. I thought you guys were already off air. That's why.
Oh no,
okay, my bad.
It's
sorry.
actually, no, it's been live. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. But does anyone want to say some last thoughts about anything before I go offline? Well, actually, while I work out how to go offline, because I'm not exactly sure.
He's doing it a different way. I think he does it live. No, I don't have really anything to add, to be honest. Did anyone else have anything?
No, I'm sorry I missed the beginning of this. I'm on West Coast time now, so my timing's all screwed up. My apologies.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go... Sorry?
Get your religion out of my marriage.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks to everyone who joined. Please be sure to add the version of me with this avatar to your Google Plus circles while they still exist as a thing, to get the bi-weekly invites, and it's always good to have people with different viewpoints. So thanks everyone, and goodbye.